Hello, everyone. My name is Grace Koch. I am the program associate for Our Bodies Ourselves. I'm here with Erin Matson, who is one of our wonderful content experts on the abortion and contraception panel. Today, Erin is here to speak with us about censorship and suppression of abortion-related content and resources. So, Erin, I'll pass it to you to introduce yourself.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me, Grace. So I am Erin Matson. I am co-founder, president, and CEO of Reproaction, which leads bold action to increase access to abortion and advance reproductive justice. I am a longtime feminist activist, and I am such a fan of Our Bodies Ourselves today.
Yay! Well, we're lucky to have you. And we're lucky to have you to speak on this important topic, which we've been really eager to cover in this political climate and everything that's going on today. It can be really confusing to talk about abortion censorship and to know what's going on in the landscape. So we're grateful to have you here. And before we dive really deep in, could you just start by explaining the current state of abortion censorship, what it looks like, what's getting censored, and who's doing the censoring?
Yeah, and thank you so much for this question. And one of the things about censorship is a lot of times you don't realize it's happening because the information is being withheld from you in the first place. So there is scary news that abortion information is widely being censored online by big tech platforms. Before I discuss that in detail, I'd like to situate it in a broader whole. So first, I hold that abortion is healthcare, that bodily autonomy is a human right, and that access to abortion is a human right. And I hold that, and there are also a number of human rights bodies that do as well. And just to say it in plain English, you simply cannot do gender equality or equality for women without ensuring that every person has access to reproductive health care immediately when they need it, with no funny business, meaning no interference from the state, from bad actors. I think another piece of the bigger picture that I'd like to bring in is technology touches every single aspect of our lives. In the modern environment in which we live, abortion access advocates need to pay as much attention to what's happening with big tech and abortion information as they do with the laws. I realize that's a really big statement, and I'm going to say it again because I believe it. We need to pay as much attention to what's happening to abortion online through, tech gatekeepers as we do through the government and the laws. And why do we need to do this? Because access to abortion and quality information, accurate information about our bodies and our lives and our healthcare is just critical to being able to exercise our fundamental rights to self-autonomy and to abortion. And it's a different time before Roe v. Wade. Um, it was a different time in terms of access to information. Online did not permeate every single aspect of our lives. And what we now have are these non-governmental actors in the tech space who have enormous unchecked control over what we see and know. So directly to your question, like what is the current state of abortion censorship? What does it look like? What is getting censored? Who is doing the censorship? So abortion censorship is rampant online. Big tech, by which I mean both social media companies and search companies, these providers that, many of us who go about our days, we interact with them constantly throughout the day. They routinely block and bar access to quality abortion information from trusted sources. They are doing this while simultaneously elevating anti-abortion disinformation that is backed by, and it's not an understatement to say this, that is backed by billions of dollars
Wow.
in right-wing money. So for years, just to give an example of what this looks like, for years, my organization, Reproaction, has pressured social media platforms because they have been censoring and they continue to censor on a semi-regular basis our posts that share literally the World Health Organization protocol for self-managed abortion. They are censoring, so they're censoring World Health Organization content. Other colleagues in the space who sell abortion pills directly to people on the internet routinely have their content censored. I've even seen it where and abortion providers and abortion advocacy organizations have had their job postings censored, like when they try to put up a paid advertisement for that. So we've been around and around these loops with the social media companies. I mean, it's kind of like one of those loops of hell, where it's like dial one to speak to a person, dial two, and you never get out of it.
Yeah.
But we have talked face to face before with some
Oh,
folks. And so they try very hard to stop you from talking to a live person, report it in these forums and nothing happens. But when you do talk to a live person, we've always heard the same thing. They're like, oh, we're not doing it. The algorithm is doing this. And I just want to say directly, that is a total lie because the rules for the algorithm are determined by people and
mm,
shaped by people, right? It is not just machines by themselves. Humans are making decisions that guide the algorithm. And it is ultimately human decisions at the big tech companies that are driving the censorship of abortion information online.
yeah. Just a question. So for like a user of social media, like if I'm on Instagram or Facebook, what is this when you say censorship, does that mean like they're deleting your posts or does that mean like they're not getting shown to certain people? Like how does censorship actually play out on these platforms?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a both and. So we've had it before where we put in posts and they literally just kind of disappear. And we're like,
Wow.
what happened? Another common thing that happens is called shadow banning. And that's basically your work doesn't come up in other people's feeds. And so people who are closer to the movement, you might notice how like sometimes abortion is spelled funny with like a zero instead of an O. That's people trying to get around the censorships and the blocks that they've set up there. So it can look like a variety of things. Sometimes it's posts like literally not showing up and it's like we've had it before in our team where we're like, wait a minute, what? We like, where'd this go? Right. And it's just crazy making. And then there's no option for recourse. So it can look like a variety of things. And the bottom line to know is it's sort of like gaslighting. Like if you think something is missing, it probably is.
Right. Thanks. Thanks for explaining that. Because that can be really confusing. Like, well, I'm not seeing any of this on my end, but there's a reason you're not seeing it on your end. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. So can you go into like how the censorship is affecting providers and patients who rely on up-to-date and accurate abortion information just in how they're providing abortion care?
Right. And I'm going to answer the question for providers first because it so directly impacts the patients. But I
Okay.
do want to say directly, like the patients are the most important thing, right? And the fact is that there are people who need abortions right now and they need accurate information right now. But we know that it is the providers that are being largely censored. And what happens is they're unable to get the word out about their services. And so let me give an example with Google. My understanding is part of the problem that they're having is a privileging of brick and mortar providers of all kinds of healthcare. So if you have no physical clinic where people go to, and you're just ordering pills online, they're not always breaking through on search results. Now, there's other problems that are happening. I don't want to say it's just that, but that's a very specific thing that we know happens. And what that happens is this effectively bars access to medication abortion because many providers in the space, such as our very valued colleagues at Women on Web, they don't have physical clinics. Like they literally, their
Mm,
clinics are all online. So, and then on top of that, providers are dealing with the same garbage on the social media platforms that advocacy organizations like my own are. So it's like just things getting censored willy-nilly. Like I've even seen it where an abortion provider has had putting up an article from the Washington Post taken
yeah.
down. It's
Wow.
ridiculous. So, okay, so that's happening to the providers. Let's talk about how this impacts the patients. So, a very direct consequence is not being able to find pills when they're looking for, safe and effective abortion pills. in addition to not being able to find quality information about abortion and their pregnancy. Um, and this is happening at the same time that, as I said, like literally billions of dollars, anti-abortion leaders and groups, anti-abortion pregnancy centers are pouring into anti-abortion disinformation online. So there's also all of this false information, deliberately false information that is lying about pregnancy and how it works, that is lying about abortion and how it works. So, between not being able to access care, and then of course, it can also be difficult to find a provider in one's own community, right? So to state the obvious, ending a pregnancy is a time-sensitive need. Like if you need to end a pregnancy, if you need an abortion, you need it right now. And so when it's hard to find information about how to do that, that has serious impacts and sometimes irrevocable impacts on patients because their care is delayed. Sometimes that means they only are eligible for different types of care that are beyond what they wanted, that involves, expensive, cost prohibitive travel, a number of pieces. So and truly, that can sometimes be the difference where someone actually has to go through with a pregnancy that they are not suited for.
Yeah, I can see very easily how that has like a big impact on the timeliness of access. It starts with like even knowing where to find a provider. Like here, I'm in Wisconsin right now, and I know like it is so hard to find a provider here, and like what are the rules in your state and how to understand them is just like on the baseline, such a barrier. And then you get all this misinformation all over the place that just makes access so confusing. And it is a really timely situation. Like, so that's a lot of pressure to put on a person, and on their providers who are trying to get out accurate information but are not able to. Uh,
Right. And just like to take this a step further, I said earlier, we have to pay as much attention to the laws as we do to
right,
tech. So in a number of states, they have these, forced waiting periods for abortion. So this is essentially like an additional forced waiting period and worse that's
right.
being determined by Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg. Nobody elected them. So just really terrifying. And then you layer that on top of barriers that a number of people are facing because of state interference with access to healthcare. It's just
Yeah.
horrible.
This goes well into my next question, which is, like, are there certain groups of people or populations, even I was thinking like states or geographic regions that you're seeing are more impacted or targeted by harmful abortion censorship?
Yeah. So I want to say clearly, this is everyone's problem.
Mhm.
But absolutely we should be, and including people who are like, abortion doesn't affect me. A number of people think that until it does, right? So, um, but I do think, absolutely we should be most concerned about people with fewer resources to access care and accurate information. So I'm talking about low income people. I'm talking about younger people, especially younger people who may be receiving inaccurate information about sex ed, based on state interference. I really want to underscore how damaging this can be for people in rural areas.
Mhm.
For people in rural areas in states where abortion is banned, being able to access information about and access abortion pills online may be the only way they can get an abortion if they are not already hooked up with their most local abortion fund. And I want to be clear here too. There is a national network of abortion funds that are serving people around the country, and they are working tirelessly to get them information and coordinate their care. But, and this online piece is another critical piece. And there are some people who are simply not going there. So I'm especially worried about low income people, young people, and people in rural areas in states where abortion is totally banned.
Yeah, it can even be kind of scary to start looking up stuff about abortion depending on where you are and what state you're in. So I definitely think there are a lot of people, especially, I mean, I grew up in rural area too, so I've seen it firsthand where even like our clinics are closing down, like our OB clinics are closing down. So it goes all the way into basic women's health care that is just being wiped out in rural areas, which makes it even worse to try and find quality abortion care.
Oh, I completely agree, and I'm terrified about my nieces in rural Georgia during their pregnancies. Like, I'm terrified. I'm literally terrified for them, in terms of access to care and if things go wrong, right? Will
Right.
there be a timely way to support them?
Yeah. Um, so in this climate of what we see as extreme misinformation, disinformation, can you talk more about this role that big tech plays in empowering anti-abortion disinformation campaigns? It seems like something that maybe we're not all privy to what's happening. So if you could talk about that, that would be very enlightening.
Yeah, I'm so grateful for this question. And this has been a long time coming, and this has been a long struggle. So I want to be clear, it's not just the current moment, it has been an established problem. They like to say they're pro freedom of speech, but they're anything but. They're doing this both by censoring accurate abortion healthcare information, and they're also doing this by allowing anti-abortion disinformation to flourish. Sometimes they do this in direct contradiction of their own policies that are like not even written about abortion. So, an example of this is like you had Lila Rose, who leads the group Live Action. She lies routinely and on a regular basis. One of her trademark marquee lies that she will say is that, quote, abortion is never medically necessary to save a woman's life, unquote. And we know that's a lie. And we know because we know that people die because of abortion bans. And people like Savita Halappanavar in Ireland, here in the United States, the names are just starting to come through more often with reporting, particularly from a investigative journalism outlet called ProPublica. People like Candy Miller, people like Amber Thurman, people like Portia Numezi are dying in the United States
Mhm.
because of abortion bans. And in some cases, you have their family literally begging for their health care. And it is because of abortion bans that this is happening. So, under Facebook's policies at the time, Rose's lie didn't fit the policy and it was pulled down. Then there was huge hue and cry. She organized, and the right wing machine organized a big pressure campaign, and the posts were reinstated.
Hmm.
And so I want to talk about the broader climate because it's really important people understand this. For decades, the right has falsely claimed that they are the victims of censorship by the
Mhm.
media, they love playing the victim card, by social media companies, and through organized pressure campaigns like the kind I've just talked about. They get the companies to reverse and violate their own facially neutral policies about abortion, because they pressure. They also have stacked things like Facebook's oversight board with, rammed in their people to make sure these kinds of decisions keep being made. And the examples that I just gave, these all happened before, like, I don't know how to say this, but the even more extreme broification of social media. So this is like before Mark Zuckerberg decided he was like a mixed martial arts fighter or whatever is happening there, right? And before social media executives decided to basically make themselves part and parcel of the authoritarian federal government that we have now. I mean, we saw them in
Right.
like the front line at inauguration. We saw them giving money. So now these problems will only be worse because it benefits. We've long seen this link between authoritarianism and crackdown on women, gender equality, LGBTQ people, and especially reproductive health care.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we've definitely seen that play out recently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yikes.
Well, thank you for answering that question and for knowing so much about it. Um, so after like we talked about all of this, where can we as consumers, as women who need quality care at all levels of knowledge, like where do we go to find trusted abortion information resources?
This is my favorite question, Grace, and I hope it is yours too, and I hope it will be everyone's. So Our Bodies Ourselves Today is an independently vetted and researched website with comprehensive information about abortion as well as a variety of topics related to sexual and reproductive health care. So, as you said at the outset, I serve as an expert on the abortion and contraception panel. So, like, literally, there's pages just about abortion and contraception. And we have a variety of experts on that panel. People like researchers, science researchers, academics, clinicians, activists. And the process for how we closely review, and we even have vigorous discussions and even debates sometimes to ensure that everything that goes on that site is medically accurate, and that it's free from anti-abortion bias that, again, is not accurate information and disinformation before we put them on the website. So I say this with the full weight of my own strong predilections as an editor. I love to go for the facts. This is a website that you can trust for accurate and quality information. And I mentioned the abortion and contraception panel, but Grace, I'd love for you to share other types of information that are also on this website. It is just a very trusted place for a variety of needs related to women's health.
Yeah, Our Bodies Ourselves has been a trusted go-to resource for all things women and gender expansive health since the 1970s. So it's really cool to look back at our legacy and see how we've grown. And now, we're online. We have our website, ourbodiesourselves.org, and we're just trying to continue to be the go-to resource for health information that's trusted, vetted by the nation's best experts. We are always getting resources that have more of a feminist lens. We're not like a WebMD. Like, we really like to bring in all diverse perspectives into everything that we put on our website to make sure that all levels of voices are heard and presented there for going to find resources on. We have 11 different subject areas ranging from pregnancy and birth, abortion, contraception, mental health, growing older, all kinds of really great content that we're continuing to build and will not stop building anytime soon. So yeah, I would definitely love to spread the word about Our Bodies Ourselves, especially to people in my generation too. Like, it can be really overwhelming to go online and do like a search and you never know what you're going to get. It's not necessarily like the best way to go about finding health information now. So I feel like once you find a trusted place, like, it save those places on your web browser, save them on your social media. Like, if you know that that's trusted, that's always a good source to go to because it can just get so overwhelming. And like, I fall to, like, I'll see a video, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's this about? But on the surface it looks so trustworthy, but then it's not. So just like saving those places and keeping them close and follow Our Bodies Ourselves. We're on social media, we're on the web, we do events, we host videos like this. So I think we're a great resource. And I hope we can continue to grow and reach the people who need us in this moment, especially.
Here, here. I mean, it's awesome. And I'm so proud to be associated with it and so grateful for the work that you do, Grace. Thank you for doing all you do for people of all genders to support accurate information about
Right.
their bodies and lives.
What else? Like, you mentioned like a vast network of abortion funds across the US. Like, are those good places to look for information? Like, at more
Yeah.
of a local level? Or how do at more of a local level, find those resources?
Yep, abortion funds, abortionfunds.org. And you can find your local abortion fund. So that is a network that serves all 50 states of local
Mhm.
abortion funds that provide practical support. So things like there's hotlines and you can call for help with funding an abortion, help thinking through and arranging the logistics of abortion, particularly if travel is needed. They can help with things like arranging childcare. It's critical, by the way, for people of means who want to help. Donations to abortion funds are amazing. Financial donations, also volunteer donations. A number of the people staffing those hotlines are volunteers.
Oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah, this leads into my last question, which is what other steps can we take to stand against this censorship? What can we use our voices to help you with?
That is the biggest thing to do is to use that voice to raise awareness and talk about it. So, you know, that is the thing that actually helps move things, because we've seen that the other side has used this very successfully. So things that my organization does are direct pressure campaigns. So things like petitions and direct action. Sometimes we've shown up at their offices and we live stream it while we do it, delivering petitions to hold them accountable. We've just seen repeatedly that big tech has caved to reactionary right-wing anti-abortion pressure. And I can tell you, as someone who watches this, that that pressure is nowhere near matched on the
Mhm.
same side by people who are championing accurate information, gender equality, reproductive health rights, and justice. So one of the very best things that we can do is get loud. At the end of the day, these are consumer products, and so they should be sensitive to the consumer market. So get loud about it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That is an interesting fact that we haven't matched yet what they are able to do. And they are able to pour like so much money into this. So we need to stand up to them. Um I also think talking about this issue just like in your groups of people, like you never just getting the word out is so important about everything like related to abortion care and our rights in the US. Like just talk to your families, talk to your friends about this, like bring it up so people know that this is happening and can be aware that this is happening online and what you see in the media and being able to like speak it to some people who might not be aware that it's happening.
Absolutely. The best way to fight back against authoritarianism, which includes anti-abortion, hatred, and suppression, is to fight back and to not give up. So that's exactly what we got to do. And it starts local. It starts by talking to our own people.
Thank you for coming to speak to us, Erin.
Thank you so much for having me.